In the last hour, EU ambassadors have unanimously approved the provisional application of the EU-UK post-Brexit trade deal that was agreed on Christmas Day. The ambassadors of all 27 EU member states have provisionally accepted the trade and cooperation agreement. On Wednesday, the President of the EU Council, Charles Michel, and the President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, are expected to officially sign off on the trade agreement, but that has to be ratified in a European Parliament vote, which will be early next year. On Thursday, MPs will vote on the deal in the UK Parliament. It all means that tariff-free trade will be provisionally allowed after Britain leaves the EU single market at the new year. Well, let's get the very latest from our Brussels correspondent, Kevin Connolly. And so, Kevin, just explain exactly what this means. EU ambassadors unanimously approving the application of the deal.
Yeah, I suppose the best way of looking at this is, frankly, it would have been amazing if they had not done so. Of course, the member state governments, the ambassadors themselves, have been kept in the loop at every stage of the negotiations. So this is really a very formal ratification. It simply means that the deal is working its way through the EU's layers of decision-making, and no one has ever accused the EU of not having enough decision-making layers. So there are a few more bureaucratic bits and pieces to do this week. And then there is an event of some political importance to come at some point, we think quite early in the new year, when the European Parliament will be asked to approve it. Because, of course, the European Parliament eventually in December said, look, it's getting too late in December for us to do this officially before the new year. That is why we have what's called provisional application. That's the EU member states doing the deal and saying to the European Parliament that your consideration will come a bit later in the process, a few weeks down the road.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Kevin Connolly there for us in Brussels. Well, fishermen continue to insist that they will be absolutely worse off as a result of the UK's post-Brexit trade deal. That's according to the chair of the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations. Andrew Locker said he was angry and disappointed that the industry had been, in his words, betrayed by Boris Johnson. Now, that has been rejected by Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove, who said today that the UK is in a stronger position than it was inside the EU and in the common fisheries policy. So who is right? Let's talk to our reality check correspondent, Chris Morris, who's with me now. And Chris, fisheries, not a huge part of the UK economy, but very central to this Brexit trade deal and the talks right up until the last moment.
Yeah, I mean, we know they were one of the very last issues to be resolved because of the political sensitivities, not just in the UK, but in places like France as well, where, you know, Emmanuel Macron has a presidential election to fight next year. And so, yes, fishing was important. Was it a good deal for the UK fishing fleet? Well, I think when Michael Gove says they're in a much better position, to begin with, it is only pretty marginal. And let's look at some of the numbers about what the deal actually said. To begin with, there's going to be the argument towards the end of the negotiation was the size of the cut for EU boats fishing in UK waters. And it's going to be a 25% cut in the amount of fish they can catch. And that will be phased in over this 5.5-year transition period, which means that, you know, EU boats are still going to be catching quite a lot of fish in UK waters. The argument for that is, well, we don't actually have the boats to catch them at the moment, and the government is saying we're going to put in money to increase the size of the fishing fleet over that period. But it's not, I suppose, if you like, an instant taking back control of all UK waters, and that's why some fishermen are a bit unhappy.
Yeah, and Michael Gove was saying, well, the EU wanted a transition period of, I think, 14 years, and they haggled, the UK offered 3 and they ended up with 5.5. So he was saying, actually, that wasn't a bad deal.
So if you look at the numbers, on the top line there, the UK wanted an 80% cut for UK boats and the EU offered 18. So it's much nearer the EU position. On the length of the transition, it's nearer the UK position. So a bit of give and take. It's what happens after the 5.5-year transition that is interesting, if you like, because that's when it reverts to annual negotiations on access to fishing waters. And in theory, at that point, the UK can say, right, we're going to shut out EU boats altogether. We're going to take back all our quota. That's it. But there is a presumption in this deal, it's written into the deal, that the 25% cut is going to continue for a while. And the UK has to make a choice to change that. If it does so, then there is the opportunity, again written into the deal, that, for example, tariffs could be put on our fish exports to the EU market, or potentially on tariffs put on other things that we sell to the EU as well. So it's in fish we see what we see in the whole deal. Yes, we've won in theory the sovereignty, the right to go our own way, but there will be a price to pay for it.
And when Boris Johnson announced the deal, he wore a tie with fish on it, sort of implying it was a victory on fisheries. But fishing leaders are saying they've been betrayed. So are they right to be that angry?
I think the problem is some of the rhetoric during the referendum and after suggested we're taking back control of our fishing waters, 100% straight away, end of story. In reality, that was never going to happen. But I think one of the reasons they're angry, I mean, for example, one of the examples that was given quite a lot was the amount of cod that gets caught by EU boats in the Eastern English Channel. It's 90% of all the cod. In 5.5 years' time, it's still going to be 90%. So there are specific species where we've done well, other species, it's a pretty small amount of fish actually, but that's why people are angry. And I think the other thing is that a lot of the fishermen in small boats who fish nearer into the shore were hoping that EU boats would be kicked out, if you like, of waters up to 12 miles from the UK coastline. And that's not the case. EU boats are still, in some circumstances, going to be able to continue fishing in those waters. So most of the benefits for the UK fishing fleets are going to be for the big trawlers, some of which actually, even though they're British boats, are owned by foreign companies. And I think a lot of the smaller fishermen are thinking that they've been a bit forgotten.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Chris Morris there.